With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories. The St. Kitts Music Festival, a platform for economic empowerment.
Police in St. Kitts Nevis push for a crackdown on teens' attendance at adult events.
St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force and His Majesty's Prison Partnership, a pathway to productive lives.
St. Kitts Nevis motorists could soon see the enactment of tougher penalties for reckless driving.
India Prime Minister Modi receives Trinidad and Tobago's highest national honor. No official U.S. visa changes, says St. Lucia's External Affairs Minister, amid public speculation. Internationally, U.S. migrants blamed for Mexico City rent spike. Locals protest soaring costs. Now, the details. The St. Kitts Music Festival, a major cultural and economic driver, has created substantial opportunities for local entrepreneurs and professionals. Dr. Terence Martin, Associate Professor and Director at Winston-Salem State University, and Dwayne DJ Flames of Ferguson emphasized how the festival serves as a vital platform for micro-businesses and individuals within the creative economy to boost local commerce and provide avenues for financial growth. The festival's emphasis on local participation has led to significant economic uplift for various sectors. Dr. Martin highlighted that
in a bottom-up economy, thousands of small-scale vendors, food stall, craftspeople, merch sellers made their living over these 3 days. You just heard it from Dwayne right now. Taxi drivers and event staff as well, all activated.
Vendors reportedly had their best 3 nights ever with a wide variety of booths, including local crafts.
I haven't heard any complaints this year. So that means that, the vendors were back in force. There were so many different booths. There were in some of the VIPs, there were even like local craft stuff and so that you could buy. But while most of their vendors said they had their best 3 nights ever, there were some complaints as well. But we're not going to focus on the negatives today, right? But here's the thing. When Government and Tourism Authority promoted this whole concept of buying local, it must also make sure that the pathway to profits is clear. Because I also heard people complaining still about obviously the high cost of operations.
Beyond the main festival grounds, Dr. Martin noted that vendors outside the festival grounds made money, and even individuals selling from coolers within the crowd contributed to the vibrant economic activity.
But the feedback that I'm getting, I'm seeing indicates that, people enjoy themselves. We had tour companies, restaurants were busy. Definitely the promoters made money this weekend. The vendors outside of the festival grounds made money. So as you're walking in, you're buying. After the fact, the buses were full. If the vibe felt radiant and local, that's a sign that our branding hit home. So, Tourism Authority, Ministry of Tourism, you just continue doing, like we said, build on it. Don't break it down. Don't go backwards.
While the festival presented immense opportunities, some challenges were also noted for vendors. DJ Flames, however, presented a different perspective, noting that
if you're getting A-class service, you're getting professionalism out of any entity or out of any vendor, it's going to come with a cost.
Dr. Martin urged small business owners to
take this energy, expand, and hear this, partner with other vendors. Partner with other people.
Yes.
Formalize your operations. Get trained. Seek funding. Become a business and not a monetized hobby that you do during Sugar Mass and Music Fest.
The festival serves as a critical stage for both established and emerging local artists, but the real work, as Dr. Martin emphasizes, is what happens after the lights go out. He advocated for converting the exposure local artists receive into tangible infrastructure, calling for
funding mechanisms for local acts to provide for studio time, mentorship, marketing, not just artists, but DJs like yourself as well.
Ultimately, such a move would address the broader economic benefits of music festivals, which include job creation in areas such as event planning, production, security, hospitality, catering, and merchandising. DJ Flames underscored the importance of professionalism and continuous preparation for local entertainers, stating,
you have to be ready. You have to be professional.
He highlighted the trend of local artists digitizing their music on platforms like Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Music, and the importance of proper registration to receive royalties when their music is played internationally. The focus on the creative economy encompassing artists, managers, and DJs is seen as crucial for leveraging the festival's momentum into long-term financial stability and growth. The festival boosts tourism and local businesses while also empowering a vibrant creative sector, making a significant contribution to the island's overall economic landscape.
As society continues to evolve, the issue of teens attending adult events has become a talking point. Whether it's a music festival, a nightclub, or an adult fete, these gatherings often involve mature themes, alcohol, smoking, and other behaviors. The primary concern is that many of the events are not designed with teenagers in mind, yet they are present. At a July 3 press conference for the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Assistant Commissioner of Police Travis Rogers declared juveniles have no place in adult events.
This was evident during the 2025 St. Kitts Music Festival. And we are concerned because they are juveniles, and juveniles has no place in an adult event.
To address this issue, adults must take the responsibility, Rogers said. He explained that the police intend to start collaborating with the community and private sector to establish clear guidelines for age-appropriate entertainment. Once these guidelines are enacted, the police will actively monitor gatherings and enforce stricter entry requirements for underage attendees.
We pedal back to our adults who are encouraging such actions. And some would say that they don't have anyone to look after their teenager. But in other situations, you will see teenager alone at home. So we are definitely against it. We will try our utmost best to sensitize the parent, the public, why children should not be at an adult event. These events are solely for adults. So going forward, we will try to work with our community, private sector, and all concerns to have this minimized or even stopped. When this is put in place, then serious drastic measures will be taken at the entries of these events, so that even if it leads to present an ID, because this was a discussion that we had during the music festival, that how would we know if a person is underage? Clearly, ask them to walk with an identification card, whether it be one from the CFB or otherwise, and then you will be rejected from those events.
Teenagers are considered to be in a crucial stage of development and are more likely to be influenced by what they see and experience at some events. Often, too, teens are left unsupervised, then potentially engage in illegal activities such as underage drinking or curfew violations. Further, adult events often showcase behaviors that may not align with healthy development for teens, more so in the entertainment industry, which tends to feature sexually explicit content. From a safety standpoint, police do not consider these environments to be equipped to protect minors. When teens attend adult events, it often leads to a clash in expectations as well. Adults are looking for a certain level of freedom, relaxation, or entertainment, and some have expressed their views that the presence of underage attendees disrupt the intended atmosphere of events. One individual told WINN FM in local dialect, parents need to keep them picky nigger home and allow big people to enjoy themselves. Another person said, when I was small, I had to hide from my mother to go out. But young people nowadays all out, all kind of late hours, dressing how they want and doing what they feel, and them parents home. A third individual suggested that everyone show an ID for certain events, as children under 18 should not be allowed to attend them.
The close collaboration between His Majesty's Prison and the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force continues, with the military agency playing a vital role in the rehabilitation of inmates. The ongoing partnership aims to equip incarcerated individuals with essential life and technical skills, fostering discipline and preparing them for successful reintegration into society. The rehabilitation program, introduced over 10 years ago, has provided training in diverse technical skills, including auto mechanics, welding, and agriculture. Major Coyote Sutton, the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force's acting commander, highlighted the program's success, pointing out the presence of well-qualified welders who learned welding in His Majesty's Prison. Inmates also contribute to construction projects, including buildings erected at Camp Springfield and the Coast Guard base. Inmate Keith Murray attested to this transformative learning.
When I first came here, I know nothing, absolutely nothing. Not even to hold a screwdriver properly. I came here, I used to wash down the commander vehicle every day. And I get opportunity to be around in the shop and I learn a lot of different things from different people. And for me, it have made a marvelous change within my life. I finally find something that, I love doing. I could make my son proud. And I could do something to give back to society, and it means a lot to me. It means everything to me.
The sentiment was echoed by Louis Gardner, one of the first HMP residents to be certified in welding and mechanics from the Advanced Vocational Educational Center. Gardner, who had practical skills learned at Camp Springfield since 2015, expressed that the program helps him
build a more positive focus on life itself, and it also gives me opportunity to teach others.
The program's strict adherence to rules is a significant factor in its success. Louis Gardner reinforced this, stating,
The environment is a healthy environment. The rules are strict, and there are certain things we must have to uphold, and that in itself very important for us because it helps pave the road for us when we integrate back into society. So it really helps a lot in the area.
The government's overarching goal for the rehabilitation program is to facilitate a smooth reintegration of inmates into society, thereby reducing reoffending rates. Inmate Keith Murray also countered negative perceptions.
People can say all kind of things, but we all know this is an army base. There's people in charge. There's no way that we could come from prison up here and do what we want. It's a base with walls just like prison. Not even the soldiers them could do what they feel like, so. Them is just talks, sometimes you're doing good in life and you can always come across stumbling back. People can try things, people can say things, but the reality is what happening here, you come and you see yourself and doing things like this, so society could see what's going on.
The Prison to Work initiative, a part of the Elevate program, further aims to assist former offenders in securing gainful employment. This aligns with the program's core principle of ensuring inmates can lead productive lives upon release. The collaboration between HMP and the Defense Force is proving to be a vital initiative, positively impacting the lives of inmates and the wider society. Through vocational training and a structured environment, the program empowers individuals to transform their lives and make meaningful contributions to the nation. As inmate Rudeni Williams puts it,
this program is the best thing for us prisoners. Good. Because, you think about it. If you just leave us back in the cell, just down there in the cell all the time, we ain't get no opportunity. It changed me significantly, so the more opportunity they get exposed to, better. Yeah, and you got a better society because, think about it, and everybody in there for life, and some people just get a little 5 years, and if you could just take that little time and instill skills in them and communicating to people and everything, it'd be good. You just don't shut them out.
The emphasis on skill acquisition, personal growth, and societal reintegration underscores the program's long-term benefits for the Federation.
The St. Kitts and Nevis government has invested in improving infrastructure and enforcing traffic laws. However, a major concern remains regarding traffic accidents in the Federation. The Deputy Commissioner of Police, Cromwell Henry, in response to a question from WINN FM at the July 3, 2025 police press conference, declared that the hotspots for accidents tend to be long-stretched roadways.
With regards to the major accidents, the hotspots are wherever there are long stretches of roads. Persons tend to increase their speeds, tend to be less cautious, particularly when overtaking on long stretches of road. Our island main road has recently been resurfaced, so it is in very good. They are in very good condition, and so persons take advantage of the condition of the road, the good condition of the road, to speed, and then they increase their risk of accidents. So our major accidents are generally caused on wherever there are long stretches of roads and persons drive at excessive speed with less caution.
The causes of traffic accidents in St. Kitts and Nevis are multifaceted, with many incidents attributed to speeding, distracted driving, driving under the influence of alcohol, and failure to adhere to traffic signals.
Apart from these serious accidents, we have a number of accidents that are avoidable, that are caused by persons who are distracted and running to the back of other persons, or exit from junctions without ensuring that the main road is clear. Again, a lot of the times the evidence show that they are distracted, usually by cell phones or by in-car stereo systems. We have a lot of persons, young persons nowadays, have a lot of sound systems in their vehicles, and these create distractions for these drivers, which result in accidents at times.
The Deputy Commissioner of Police pointed out that young male drivers between the ages of 25 to 40 are involved in a disproportionately high number of accidents. This demographic, Henry said, is more likely to engage in risky behaviors and sometimes alcohol consumption, which leads to accidents.
The demographics are varied. It's not confined to only young drivers. We have a mixture of experienced drivers and young drivers, but generally males between the ages of 25 to 40. Those are the range that we are seeing persons involved in accidents. So it's a mixture of new drivers and experienced drivers. And a lot of it is because of speeding and in-car distractions. Some of it are also caused by impaired driving, persons who are driving under the influence of alcohol, and we are taking steps to deal with these causes.
To improve safety, authorities have combined enforcement, education, and infrastructure improvements. Key measures include strengthening traffic laws, ensuring that traffic laws are consistently adhered to, and penalizing persons found in contravention of the law. Additionally, an ongoing public awareness campaign aims to educate both drivers and passengers about safety practices, including the importance of wearing seatbelts, adhering to speed limits, and obeying traffic signals, among other key considerations.
We have at least 2 weekly radio programs on WINN FM, your radio station, on Mondays, and we have one on midweek on Wednesdays on ZIZ, where officers from the traffic department each week speak to different issues that affect motorists on the road, with an attempt, with the intent of educating, hoping that they would result in better driving habits.
Meanwhile, people continue to call for regular maintenance and upgrades to roads, along with clear road markings, upgraded traffic signage, the installation of better lighting on roads, and the creation of more pedestrian-friendly areas. By increasing fines and even imposing jail time for serious traffic offenses, the government hopes to send a clear message that these behaviors will no longer be tolerated. Furthermore, Deputy Commissioner of Police Henry declared that more severe penalties would form part of a broader strategy to address road safety concerns in the country.
Parliament has recently increased penalties for certain traffic offenses, particularly the serious offenses, careless driving, dangerous driving. And we've seen heavy fines being meted out by the court. We publish the traffic convictions weekly, and the fines are severe in some cases. In some cases, we have persons who are suspended from driving, but generally, stiffer penalties are meted out. We intend to take it a step further. Persons who are charged with dangerous driving, who are involved in serious accidents, we intend going forward to have them charged with dangerous driving and have their license suspended, pending the determination of their charge. So if you get in a serious accident, you'll be charged for dangerous driving, and your license is likely to be suspended until the case is heard. So we hope that these actions would serve as deterrents to persons who intend to drive carelessly on our roads. When they think of the consequences, hopefully they should be deterred by the penalties.
In regional news, India Prime Minister Modi receives Trinidad and Tobago's highest national honor. Triple T Live Online reports.
Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, views his presentation of the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the ORTT, as a symbol of the enduring friendship between India and Trinidad and Tobago. He was conferred the nation's highest award by President Christine Kangaloo at a ceremony on Friday. Here's Mahalia Joseph Wharton with the details.
President Christine Kangaloo said the visit by India's Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi has warmed the hearts of people across Trinidad and Tobago.
Trinidad and Tobago is immensely glad to have been able to bestow upon you, sir, our nation's highest honor, in recognition of the tremendous work that you have done with our nation over the years, and for the kindness and the generosity which you have always shown to our country, and indeed our region. Your kindness and generosity to the people of Trinidad and Tobago are legendary.
In his address after receiving Trinidad and Tobago's highest honor, Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi said the recognition belongs to the people of India and reflects the shared history and cultural ties linking the two nations.
Friends, this award is being conferred on a foreign leader for the very first time, and this reflects the exceptional depth of our special relationship. The ties between India and Trinidad and Tobago are rooted in our shared history and cultural heritage. It was 180 years ago that the people from India, for the very first time, came to these shores, laying the foundations of our everlasting friendship. Though their hands were empty, their hearts were full, enriched with the values, traditions, cultural diversity of the Indian civilization.
India's Prime Minister also pledged continued cooperation and partnership with Trinidad and Tobago on the global stage.
Close friend and trusted partner, India has always focused on capacity building and skill development for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. For India, Trinidad and Tobago is not just an important partner in CARICOM, but also a very vital global partner. Our partnership holds great significance for the entire global South. As two vibrant democracies, we will continue to work together for the well-being of not just our own people, but also for the greater good of humanity.
Prime Minister Modi is the first foreign leader to receive the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, underscoring what both countries describe as an exceptional bond of friendship. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
Minister of Rural Development and Local Government Khadija Amin is defending government's move to bestow the nation's highest award on India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Speaking to TTT News on Friday, she shared the fact that there have been several negative comments on Mr. Modi's visit, but said she believes citizens must be aware of the generosity of the global leader.
In terms of technology, in terms of the potential to have a CARICOM Forensic Science Center located here in Trinidad, in terms of agro-processing, in terms of flood mitigation and early warning for our disaster, and how much that will benefit our economy, and there will very likely be more to come. So now that we have that open conversation, and of course we cannot ever forget the fact that India was very generous during the COVID-19 pandemic to give vaccines to Trinidad, and so we are not the only country. So it's not strange and unusual on an international scale for one country to bestow that national award onto another.
In April 2021, the government of India handed over 40,000 doses of AstraZeneca Covishield vaccines to Trinidad and Tobago during the height of the pandemic.
No official U.S. visa changes, says St. Lucia's External Affairs Minister, amid public speculation. DBS St. Lucia has that story.
With concerns circulating online and in local media over possible shifts in U.S. immigration enforcement of visa access, External Affairs Minister Alpha Baptiste says these discussions remain firmly in the public domain and not within the realm of official government-to-government correspondence. The minister emphasized that any credible foreign policy changes by the United States will be formally communicated through diplomatic channels, specifically via diplomatic notes, which St. Lucia has not received. Until such correspondence is issued, the government says it will refrain from commenting publicly to avoid misunderstandings that could affect bilateral relations.
This is not how we communicate as governments. We have a system where if the United States would like to communicate changes in its foreign policy posture, it would send a diplomatic note. And based on that diplomatic note, we are going to respond. I have said before, we have not received any diplomatic note, regarding any recent changes. The Prime Minister has accentuated it. And obviously, unless we get a diplomatic note indicating timeframes, indicating specific measures, we cannot comment on those things publicly.
Some St. Lucians living in the U.S. have expressed fear about returning home, particularly during major events like Carnival, citing rumors of penalties or immigration complications. But Minister Baptiste says those concerns stem from speculation, not facts.
Like I said, these are all things in the public domain, a lot of speculation. I cannot comment on those things. These are immigration matters, not matters dealing with foreign affairs. People want to come to Carnival, they come. You know, if they want to be obedient to what they hear in the public domain, then that's a choice that they have to make privately.
While St. Lucia takes all concerns seriously, Baptiste reiterated that immigration decisions made by sovereign nations like the United States are entirely within their jurisdiction. The St. Lucian government, he says, respects that sovereignty and will continue to use quiet diplomacy rather than public posturing in dealing with international partners. Minister Baptiste assures the public that should any formal updates be received from the U.S. authorities, the government here will promptly and transparently communicate with the nation. Until then, he says, diplomacy remains in motion quietly and behind the scenes.
We now bring you these international reports.
These protesters in Mexico City say cross-border migration is changing their country's capital for the worse. Over the last decade, an influx of mostly American so-called digital nomads have moved here to work remotely and also enjoy a cheaper cost of living. Protesters say the newcomers have driven up rents beyond the reach of locals.
If they're going to live in a country, they have to contribute to that country. The first and simplest issue is legal migration. They come here with visas or no visas, and still the change in purchasing power generates these problems of gentrification and displacement.
I'm here because gentrification is just one more step towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation of our resources. Right now it's about the people, but it won't be long before they run out of oil, water, or lithium in other countries and come and take them from us.
Many Americans in Mexico are able to still receive high salaries in dollars from U.S. companies by working on laptops from their apartments.
The government is directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power, often illegally displacing local populations who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50, and we have even documented cases of up to 60 years. In 5 years, rents have increased by 47%. This is violent for the local population. We are debating whether to pay for electricity, water, or food. Of course, we choose to eat.
Some activists blame Mexico's government for encouraging them. However, there's no simple fix. Imposing tougher visa restrictions on Americans could worsen relations with the U.S. Mexican citizens in the U.S. also send billions of dollars in remittances back to their families in Mexico. In a world where travel and communication are faster and easier than ever, these two nations are finding it harder to have neighborly relations. Wilson Dysard, Al Jazeera.
At least 24 people have been killed after torrential rains unleashed flash floods along the Guadalupe River in Texas on Friday. That's according to local officials, who added that rescue teams are scrambling to save dozens trapped by high water or reported missing in the disaster. Authorities say some of the missing are listed as unaccounted for at an all-girls Christian summer camp located on the banks of the rain-engorged Guadalupe. Here's Texas Governor Greg Abbott speaking at a press conference late on Friday.
We're going to make sure we get information to families as quickly as we possibly can. But most importantly, we will stop at nothing to ensure that every asset and person and plane and whatever is needed is going to be involved in the process of rescuing every last person and ensure everybody involved in this is going to be fully accounted for.
He added that resources devoted to the effort would be limitless.
Oh, that's terrible. The floods. It's shocking.
Speaking aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump said, quote, "We'll take care of them," when asked about federal aid for the disaster. The U.S. National Weather Service declared a flash flood emergency for parts of Kerr County in south-central Texas Hill Country, about 65 miles northwest of San Antonio, after thunderstorms that dumped up to a foot of rain. Dalton Rice, the city manager for Kerrville, said the extreme flooding struck before dawn with little or no warning, which prevented authorities from issuing advance evacuation orders as the Guadalupe quickly rose above the major flood stage. State emergency management officials warned as early as Thursday that West and Central Texas face heavy rains and flash flood threats over the next couple of days, citing National Weather Service forecasts ahead of the holiday weekend.
Meanwhile, Hamas says it has submitted a positive response to mediators about a Gaza ceasefire proposal. But the BBC has been told that it has requested some key changes. These include a guarantee from the US that Israel's bombardment will not resume if the ceasefire ends without a permanent agreement. There was no immediate response from Israel and the US, but they have previously been reluctant to accept similar demands. We can speak to the BBC's Wira Davies, who's in Jerusalem for us. And Wira, what's the latest on these ceasefire negotiations?
But all of this comes against a backdrop of increasing violence in Gaza, not just the incident you mentioned, but also 130 Palestinian deaths yesterday and at least 70 more deaths, according to the health ministry in Gaza, as Israel's military bombardment continues. Hamas has told negotiators that it is generally positive about the ceasefire proposals and willing to start negotiations round the table indirectly with Israel, with Qatari and Egyptian mediators. However, Hamas has said it wants to see some modifications or changes to the plans as they've been presented. The key thing will be whether or not, after the ceasefire ends, whether or not there can be guarantees about a permanent peace, a permanent truce. Also, Hamas wants Israeli troops to withdraw from parts of Gaza, and they want a resumption of the UN-backed humanitarian aid system. So quite a lot there for the Israelis to take on board. We haven't had an official response from the Israelis yet because it's still the Jewish Sabbath in Israel. But I think as the day progresses, certainly those on the right wing of Israeli politics might express their rejection of Hamas's demands. Indeed, many ministers in the government, or at least two ministers in the government, don't want any ceasefire at all. They want all aid to be stopped, and they want an intensification of Israeli military activity in Gaza.
You mentioned those attacks and killings happening in Gaza. What more can you tell us?
Well, look, Israel over the last week has been increasingly intensifying its airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. Even so-called safe areas like Al-Mawasi is a zone where the Israelis have told people to go to get away from the airstrikes. That area, Al-Mawasi, has been hit repeatedly, and in the last 24 hours, one prominent Gazan doctor and his family were reportedly killed in Al-Mawasi overnight. So a lot of people still being killed, a lot of injuries being taken to hospitals, and the situation is worsening even as we start to talk about a possible ceasefire.
And we mentioned a little earlier that attack on two members of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. What do we know about what happened there?
Yeah, this is as you said, the American-backed GHF, which has been widely criticised. Some people have said that its members have been firing on and attacking some Palestinian civilians at and around the aid centres. But they also say that they're coming under attack. And to that point, they say that this morning, two of their American aid workers were lightly injured when a grenade was thrown at one of their 4 distribution centres. The injuries are said to be light, but it just shows the danger that attracts these distribution centres, and is another reason why many in Gaza, certainly in the UN and the sister agencies, say we need to change the method of distributing aid. They're saying let the UN distribute aid to 400 centres around Gaza rather than rely on these controversial GHF operations.
In the light of the staggering Israeli military's escalation of attacks targeting several areas across the Gaza Strip, I'm right now standing in one of the sites which was targeted by the Israeli military. This is Al-Shafi'i UN Shelter School, where an Israeli suicidal drone hit this classroom, as one of the eyewitnesses described, killing 5 Palestinians, and dozens were injured, including women and children, and transported to Al-Ahli hospital. We can clearly see in the frame a hospital bed. One of the displaced Palestinians was injured in previous attacks. He was sleeping at midnight. He was targeted and brutally killed without any prior warning. We can clearly see the belongings, the flour, which displaced Palestinians used to escape the current starvation that is taking place inside the besieged Gaza Strip. Stones soaked with the blood. And this is the remnants of the suicidal drone which hit this classroom.
We were sleeping with no reason to expect anything, but then we heard a powerful explosion. We rushed out of the dormitory where we had been sleeping and saw dust everywhere. The walls had collapsed and there was fire burning. There were many martyrs, many of them women and children. They were innocent.
We were sleeping, and at around 2:15 in the morning, we heard the sound of something devastating explode in the hall. Everything turned red, and after that, all we could hear was a hissing sound following the explosion. That was all. There was a lot of dust and fire in the classroom next to us. People were shouting, but then we didn't hear any of them anymore. I fled with my children, but entire families were lost.
This school, once meant to be a place of refuge, has become a site of death. Ibrahim Al-Khalili, Al Jazeera, Gaza City, Palestine.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were the St. Kitts Music Festival, a platform for economic empowerment.
Police in St. Kitts Nevis push for a crackdown on teens' attendance at adult events.
St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force and His Majesty's Prison Partnership, a pathway to productive lives.
St. Kitts Nevis motorists could soon see the enactment of tougher penalties for reckless driving.
India Prime Minister Modi receives Trinidad and Tobago's highest national honor. No official U.S. visa changes, says St. Lucia's External Affairs Minister, amid public speculation. Internationally, U.S. migrants blamed for Mexico City rent spike. Locals protest soaring costs. Thank you for listening.